A Moment with Tyranny podcast. This episode and conversation is powered by Homes with Tyranny.
Here we go. Hey, hey, hey. It's another day with a moment with Tyranny and our guest. We have a beautiful guest here. And today our topic is going to be the importance of time blocking and being organized. So go ahead, my guest. Let's go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Crystal Pace. I'm Tierney's sister, and I'm looking forward to sharing my experience with the topic today. And I hope that we can help somebody. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And I know a lot of people are kind of like, that's what happens when you have your phone on and you should have it on. A lot of people think, okay, time blocking, what is it? Is it important? I don't know how to do it. And from my experience, I know it's important. And Crystal, I know you're working in doing time blocking and stuff. So we're just going to kind of talk about, why is it important for us to time block? What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's always been a struggle, and I'm sure there are countless people out there that feel the same way. It's always a struggle because there's always things vying for your time and attention, even things that, especially things that are not scheduled or planned. So if the question is, well, why do I think it's important? I think it's important because time is one of our resources that we cannot get back. And once it's gone, it's gone. And there is so much opportunity lost if you don't have control over it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know that I've at a point I was out there and I was just doing everything and I had stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff until I learned how to time block and I learned how to organize my day. So, kind of tell us like a day in the life of time blocking for you, Crystal. What is it? How do you organize your day and in order to put your time blocking in, and how has it changed for you, or how is it changing for you?
Okay, well, to be honest and open with you, I'm in the process of learning, and I've actually learned a lot from watching you, Tierney. But I thought that if I wrote it down, that it was going to somehow get done. And I found out that that's not true. So I started looking a little bit deeper into my patterns and what was keeping me from these goals. Every January, I would start over with the same list, and that got very frustrating. And like I said, you can't get that time back. So now I want to know, how now do I manage it better? And so what I've learned very recently, actually, is from you again, is the time blocking, but I still didn't quite understand how to make it happen. I can write it down all day, like I said.
Yeah.
But the how comes in, that you are actually, a trick that I've learned recently is, don't just write it down, put it on your schedule where you put all of the other meetings that you attend, even when you are just an invitee and it ends up chewing up like an hour of your day.
Yeah.
Put that on that schedule, because now what happens is it's intentional. It's intentional. And when people see that it's on your calendar, they generally don't invite you or schedule on top of that. So that's just a little trick that I learned on how to actually set that side of time, aside that time.
Yes. Yep.
That
Yep.
is the true time blocking.
Right. Right. And with time blocking, when you're doing time blocking, you're putting that on your schedule, it's important that you have non-negotiable time. And when I say non-negotiable time, that means time, I don't care what's coming up, it's non-negotiable. That's when you put those cell phones in other rooms, because if a cell phone is ringing while you're in the middle of your time block, we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it. But if you have non-negotiable and you remove all your distractions, then a lot of times then you can stay on track with those non-negotiables. And when I say non-negotiables, you're going to have to determine what's really, really important to you, because sometimes things happen. So, and you're correct, Crystal, when you say put it on your calendar. I know that you had told me that you share one thing with me, is that you have it on your calendar, so it puts a reminder like 10 minutes or something. So how does that work with your reminders?
It works very well because what happens is just like I get work done for my employer, I get a 15-minute notice on Outlook that I'm about to go into another meeting. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what I do? Whoever I'm talking to at that time, I let them know I've got a hard stop in 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Or I figure out a way to get my information to that person so that I can be able to leave early from another meeting that's scheduled close to that one. And so then you have to start figuring out clever ways to work in some of your uh, personal time. Because I know you get home at 5 o'clock, you're tired. You've been doing all this, meetings and work all day long.
Right.
So you might actually want to put in, okay, you know what? I need to lay down and rest and get me a power nap for X number of minutes and then start your exercise routine or start dinner after that, if that's something you can do. But always be very intentional. And that way it becomes part of your new habits and routines.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the word that you're saying that's very important that people need to realize is that intentional. If you're doing something intentional, then you're going to put that work into it. You're meaning to do it. If we just write it down and close the book and just go live your life, then that's not going to work for you. But being intentional is very important to time blocking and also making sure that you write it down. If you put it out of your mind and it's visible, it's easier for you to keep looking. So yours is a reminder on your phone. So you have your cell phone with you. Some people write it on calendars and because they have it, right in front of them. So it's kind of like, I guess what you're saying, what I'm saying, what we're doing is it's what's going to be in front of you. It's got to be something that's going to constantly pop up and remind you, right?
Right. Just stop what you're doing. You've got another engagement you got to attend.
Yeah. And I like what you said. I got a hard stop here because if you don't put a hard stop on people, they will take you into another hour, 2 hour meeting or session or whatever it is. And another thing, and I don't know if you do this or not, Crystal, but one thing that I do when I'm time blocking is I time block for the whole week. Like on Sundays, I go in and I time block for the whole week, and I include even travel time, Crystal. I'll go, it's going to take me an hour to get here. It's going to take me this. So my whole day is blocked out. And then if I want to have a lazy day because we got to have it, I'll block out a whole Sunday and say free, something like that. Do you do those kind of time blockings for yourself?
I haven't gone that far yet because I'm in a phase now where I'm still trying to teach people how to respect the time block that's in on my calendar. Because there are some people that can be a bit long-winded at times, especially in the office,
Oh, yeah.
or even friends that may call you and you take the call because it could be an emergency, and then it turns into, okay, well, I got to go. And then they talk another 5 minutes. You say, okay, well, I got to go. And they talk another 5 minutes.
Because
So
what I have to say is more important, right, than your time.
they heard me, but they didn't hear me, right? So what I'm learning right now is I'm learning to learn how to talk to people and send that message in a way that spares feelings, but also communicates the importance of what I'm trying to do without, like, I don't want people to just feel like, okay, well, she's not answering me. I can explain it. So you have to, I guess, successful time blocking
Mhm.
includes a successful learn how to communicate with people, that you do have non-negotiable parts of the day, and so they can respect it without getting their feelings hurt or feeling like you're just kind of, being rude or whatever.
Brushing them
So
off and
those
just
are
don't
some
want to talk
skills
to.
that, I'm sorry.
I said just brushing them off and making them think that, yeah, I don't want to really talk to you.
Always preserve your relationships while you're time blocking because it can send the wrong message.
Hmm.
And then when you need that person, they'll remember that you didn't have time for them. But if you explain things and help people to help you, I think that's as important as putting the schedule together with those reminders, is having everybody participate in your time blocking, and they do it willingly if they know what's going on.
Yep, and I agree. Communication is key in everything. All relationships, family, work, even outside people calling in. Right now is not a good time. So I do communicating, and you can tell them, right now I can't talk, but I'll get back to you when I have a little free time or something. And I do agree with you. The communication and maybe explaining a little bit to why you can't speak with them. So.
Yeah.
So what kind of pointers, if you're new at the time blocking thing, and this is like you're just starting out, what kind of pointers would you give someone that says, "Hey, Crystal, I'm trying to get myself on schedule." It could be one of your employees, it could be a close friend. What kind of advice would you give them?
As far as getting, control
Start.
of their time,
Mhm.
pay
Starting.
attention, pay attention to the habits that you've already established, and remember that they're just habits and they can be changed.
Mhm.
So when you see that your habit might be to putz around for an hour before you start making breakfast, or before and that hour could be used to exercise, but you're up. You just have to start learning your bad habits, or your routine as it is, and then that's your base mark, and then, or your baseline, and then you start to integrate some habits into that wasted time that are more focused towards your goal, whatever that is.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And just to kind of go off of what you just said, because you said routines and habits, because we all have them. And you know what? When you start practicing time blocking and you're being consistent with the time blocking and the routine that you start to establish, then you'll find that you actually have more time to accomplish goals. You see where you've wasted a lot of times and you could have been doing other things. And it's like, okay, wow, I have a whole extra hour or something through the week to add something else that you may want to do. And that's what I've learned to do. But you're right when you say be aware of your habits first, because those are the things that you're going to have to identify that you need to correct, and then set your routine and be consistent with your time blocking. Would you agree that kind of the steps are?
Oh yeah, consistency is key. And I'm sorry to say, I want to be the bearer of bad news, but that could be the hardest part because of self-discipline. And a lot of people struggle with that. I know I do.
Mhm.
And sometimes just to beat, all of the strategies, I kind of turn toward people I know that get a lot done, and I kind of mimic their behavior. And sometimes I've seen where my boyfriend, for example, he just stays busy all the time. So in all that busyness, he gets a lot done. And then I'm thinking, how did you do that? I mean, the house is clean, but he just stays busy. He doesn't allow time to waste. And
Yeah.
so I guess changing your attitude about time,
Mhm.
knowing that it is a precious resource that you can never get back,
Yeah.
will make you a bit more enthusiastic about changing those habits.
You know what? And that is a good thing that you said. We're going to end on that one because time is valuable and you can never get it back. So you need to make sure that you use every second wisely. I love that. Thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us on A Moment with Tyranny. Everybody knows I always end my podcast with a quote. So my quote for today is, if it's important to you, you will find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So we'll say it again. If it's important to you, you will find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. Thank you so much for joining us. I will be back on next week with another guest. See you again Friday, 12 Central Time. And thank y'all again for joining me. If you haven't subscribed and you haven't followed, please do so. And we will see you next week. Thank you again, Crystal.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.